time you can never get back. You've been given a gift. I
can't do that.
Of time to utilize it.
Why can't I do that?
Hey, my name's Devin. Today I own several multi-million-dollar companies. We started with $5,000 in a credit card. I don't know the easy way. I only know the hard way.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Whiteboard Entrepreneur podcast, where I give straightforward advice to fuel the entrepreneur in all of us. Today I want to talk to you about the professional gap year. Professional gap year. And I'm being a bit cheeky here, but I want you guys to get this concept, because I think we get these moments in our life, right? So for those of you who are not familiar with the gap year, it's something that's kind of developed over these last 5 or 10 years where people graduate high school and they're like, oh, you know what? I'm not ready to start a career. I'm not ready for college. I'm going to take a gap year and I'm going to go and find myself. And I'm going to do all this stuff that, would be fun to do, and I might never have time to do it for the rest of my life. So these are, you see them walking around Europe with a backpack, hiking around Europe, or going, surfing in Thailand, or doing, things that people think like, oh, it's a waste of time or whatever. But honestly, enviously, we're all like, oh, dang, I wish I could take a gap year. but we end up with these moments in our life as professionals. And I can think of 3 people in this last year that had these gap moments of their life. One was a good friend of mine. He's a dentist. He'd kind of just sold his practice, hadn't started his new practice. The building wasn't built. And so he had like what he thought was going to be like 3 or 4 months, but ended up being like 8 months because it took him forever to finish the building. And I was like, dude, you have like this gap time in your life. What are you going to do? And he's like, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. Right. And then a couple of my friends, one was kind of in between a job and then she was going back to school. One had graduated college, but she had until like September before her career was taking off. And I was like, hey, seize this moment. Seize this moment. You're a professional. You're working hard. You're doing all of these wonderful things. And all of a sudden you've got this opportunity in your life. And somebody taught me this a long time ago. So when I sold my very first company, he's like, so what are you going to do with your money? And I'm like, I don't know. I still shop at Target. You can probably tell, right? Like, I'm not a fancy guy. I'm not someone that's going to go buy cars or do things. I don't know. I'm just like, I don't know. I really have no idea. And he's like, well, why don't you take a month off with your family? And he's like, just take them to Hawaii and do a month off and just don't do anything. And I was like, well, my brain almost blew up. I'm like, you can't do that. Like, I can't do that. And I started thinking like, why can't I do that? Right? It's summer, kids are out of school. And I could not wrap my mind around like not doing anything. And a lot of you are probably like, your brain's blowing up. Like, how do I do nothing? How do I do nothing? Well, anyways, I did it. And you know what? 2 weeks into that month-long trip with just me and my family to Hawaii, I actually realized one of the ways I wanted to spend my money. And I looked at my wife and I told her, we went out to dinner that night. I said, I know how I want to spend my money. And she said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to make sure that we do this for our family every single year. This is what we're doing. We ended up buying a place out there, right? And so memorializing, we bought a place. It was wonderful. Actually, I'm going in a week, but I'm so excited. But anyways, I was like, but had I not taken that time, and then we've done that every year since. So I think it's been like 10 years in a row that we literally take off a month. I work when I'm there, but generally we don't work and we just go away for a month, and it's wonderful. A lot of pastors and teachers will do this. They call it sabbaticals. But listen, I'm not telling you to go to your boss and tell them you need a month off. I'm telling you, when opportunities in your life present themselves where maybe you're in between jobs. Maybe you're someone who's an independent contractor that like, hey, this contract got done and you're thinking about picking up a bunch of little work before your next big one starts. Maybe you should not, right? Have you ever thought about that? Maybe you should not. Maybe you should take that time, that gap time that was a gift. And I use that word, a gift. It's a gift. That time you can never get back. You've been given a gift of time to utilize it. And you might say, well, that's not very productive. I thought we're hard workers, we're ambitious, we're driven. We are, right? We're all of those things. So if you're sitting there right now going, yeah, actually, I'm going to take a couple years off. This podcast is not for you, right? This podcast is for those who are reaching and achieving and growing after their dreams. And I have to talk some common sense into you to sometimes say, hey, when you've been given a gift of time, use it. I will tell you this is what's so cool, right? So during that month that I had off with my family, about 2 to 3 weeks in it is when I had the next idea for my company. And that next company is now probably 3 or 4 times bigger than that initial company. But had I not taken that time off, had I not cherished it, had I not given myself mental space, rest, or relaxation, I may have, number one, squandered that gift, squandered that time, but also not have found and discovered the next opportunity in my life. I'm going to encourage you, when you've been given a gift of time, take it, seize it, enjoy that gap in your life. I'm Devin. This is Whiteboard Entrepreneur. I know this one's going to help.